I looked at the team. I was like, start it right there. Start the video right there.
At the time, I probably had $300 spilling out of my hat and my shirt. The guest was telling me, he was like, I've always wanted to make a shirt. Baton Rouge isn't lame, you are.
I remember living in Baton Rouge and really I enjoyed it. It was a little slow. I would go places I always know people.
I'm not going to be able to talk to them before I die.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing 50 a year, man.
I hate starting shows.
Why do you hate starting
shows?
shows?
Hey, this is Al Ludwig with CFO of Marketing. Yeah, see? Like I'm screwing all over myself right now. But I'll do it. I'll do a little.
Hit me with the hard intro.
All right.
And I'll hit you with the host nightmare.
The host nightmare?
Yeah.
What's the host nightmare?
You throw it to me and I go, I'm doing great. And that's it. That's it. I don't say a word after that. I just wait for you to like pull tooth and nail, get the content out of the guest, make you really work for your money.
Okay, gonna make this hard. All right, well, this is Al Ludwig with the CFO of Marketing podcast. Today I have Patty G on the show. Patty is, I call you kind of the king of podcasting in Baton Rouge with your 269 episodes of your show. I saw you when you first reached out to us to get Gordon on the show. I'm just happy to have you on and want to know a little bit more about you, about the show. And first, I just want to congratulate you on the 20 under 30.
20 in their 20s.
20 in their 20s, 20 under 30s. It's the same thing.
It's exactly the same thing. Oh, look, there it is,
well,
man.
I guess if it was 20 under 30, you could be like 4 years old and get the reward.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. I don't know how it happened that I got the award, but yeah, sure enough.
You think it's a podcast?
Man, I don't know. I mean, maybe not. Maybe it's a collective of things that I do within the community and what I've got going on. But I don't know, just trying to be a voice or at least an ear for those in Baton Rouge that have a story to tell and give them a platform and a place to tell it, to really promote what we're doing here as a community and why we live here and why we do what we do. I heard Gordon the other day talk about how he hates the Texas argument, and I've got to agree with him. I've got family and business folks in Texas, and it's a great place to visit, but it's not a place that I call home at the moment. It's Baton Rouge is born and raised here, and it's where I see myself, and so the show and what I try to do each and every day, hopefully, is promoting that, and maybe that's why they reached out and said, "Do you want to be a 20 in their 20s?"
Oh, pretty cool. Yeah, when Gordon said that bit naturally about I'm sick and tired of people moving to Texas, I looked at the team. I was like, start it right there. Start the video right there.
That's the cut.
It got like 150,000 views on TikTok. It went a little crazy. So that was pretty cool to see. But give me a little bit of origin into why the Patty G show came about. I mean, you were 22 years old when you started it?
It's a good question. I was 23 when I started the show. I started it initially, I had the idea for it back in 2017, 2018, when not everyone and their mother had a podcast, just, every other person had a podcast. And I started it initially going down this rabbit hole of what is podcasting, what can it do, what type of an element can it bring to a business, and I explored it from the marketing perspective. And my first thought was, this is a great marketing tool to get your name, your image, your brand, your awareness all out there to the community in a different medium that's not being absorbed the way that it was or way that it is today, where right now it's super easy to get one started. Back then it was a little bit more difficult, but still easy enough to get done. And I recognized that people were starting to listen to it more, and even in addition to people listening to it more, they were starting to explore, how does it work with video? How can video be an element we incorporate into a podcast? Then I went down this long just trail of video content. Then you started looking at long form strategy and how do you pull out short clips from that long form and implement it into your strategy. So now you've got this whole funnel around this podcast, whether it's 15, 30, 45 an hour. And from it, how many clips can we pull out that are good juice? Talking about Gordon's clip of going to Dallas, or not moving to Dallas, not moving to Texas, probably from a longer form of content that you then used and deployed in different areas. And my parents have an industrial plumbing company, and so growing up in that environment, I said, Dad, why don't we do a podcast for the business? And he said, one, I don't really know what that is, and two, who wants to listen to us talk about toilets all day? I'm like, that's a fair point, but you would likely have maybe one or two customers that would want to listen to it. Worst case scenario, you talk about cool things you can do in the industry, Talk about how back when it started to become cool, you built a fountain that shot fire out the center of it. Like all of that within your plumbing industry is something that's fascinating. You don't just have to talk about how to unclog a toilet. You can. That can be a piece of content, but it doesn't have to be about that.
And we've all seen TikToks and Instagram reels of construction and plumbing that have gone absolutely viral because the stories behind it. There's always interesting stories, and more importantly with the podcast is if 10 people watch it, cool. Right, because ultimately, like I would imagine in that world, someone's looking for a plumber, right? They don't know a plumber, they don't know who to reach out to for a plumber. They start doing some research. They find your dad. They do a little research and they say, "Oh man, this guy's got a social media. He has a podcast where he talks about plumbing. He's really passionate about it. I'm going to hire the guy who's talking about it all the time."
Yeah, and that was my thought at the time, and couldn't get on board with it. No worries. He later came on the Patty G show, I think about a year ago for Father's Day, and we were able to talk about plumbing and everything at that point in time, and it was a lot of fun. And so I said, okay, no problem. So then I pitched it to the firm I was working at. And in the accounting world, our knowledge and our expertise is our dollars, right? That's what we're providing. That's our service we're getting at. And so it was kind of initially viewed as, well, that's giving away our services for free. And again, within that world, there's so many generalizations you can have conversations around without getting so specific, and every single person's situation is very unique and specific. Every single person in this room has a unique situation that we couldn't talk about on the show unless they publicly wanted it out there. And so I said, okay, no problem, no worries, whatever. Then it kind of just kept sticking with me, and I was at LSU getting a paired degree in accounting and entrepreneurship and a minor in communications, and in each one of those classes and with each one of those curriculums, there was without a doubt somebody in the room that said they couldn't wait to graduate so they could leave. They couldn't wait to get the degree from the flagship university and say, kumbaya, we're out of here. Like, we're gone. I'm just not sticking around for anything because there's nothing here to offer. And every time I'd ask them, that's the same response they would give me. Well, we don't see the opportunity. We don't hear about cool things happening. We don't know what there is and what the state has to offer. And to me, I was just so perplexed that was their response, because I knew of what great things were happening. I was meeting with professors, meeting with guest speakers, and really becoming aware, and the fact that I grew up here, what's possible, what can be done, what you can build, and also just knowing the cool businesses that were created here. I was like, you're ridiculous. Like, there's so much room for opportunity here. And then they would just hit me back with, well, no one's talking about it, Patrick. No one's talking about the cool things that's happening. Nobody is out there in the community putting stuff where we're looking to see. All we hear about is crime, all we hear about is traffic, and all we hear about is maybe one day this stuff will get fixed. So I said, okay, so the problem is you're not seeing it where you're consuming content. I think I can figure out a solution for that. And so that's what kind of sparked the idea of, let me create a podcast where I sit down with business owners, business leaders, what have you, and they share their stories of how they got started. They share their origin stories of, here's what I went through, here are the challenges that I faced, but here's how I overcame them, and here's where we are today and what we've been able to do right here in Louisiana. And from there, I went home and had my iPhone, and I was like, all right, I'm going to record a show. I've just got to get it done. But I was so set on video because I knew the lasting effect it was going to have, and I knew I was going to be able to create just so many pieces from one long-form video that I said, I've got to have that element. And I couldn't get behind it. I'm just so nervous, like psyching myself out. I'm like, just holding the phone, just talking into it. Like, why can't you do that? And so I said, look, you've got 10, 15 minutes before your wife comes home. You better sit down and do it. So I went inside, sat down at a table, and just pulled out my phone, went to voice memos and pressed record, and just blabbed about who knows what at this point for 8 to 10, 15 minutes.
Is that the first one that's on your website?
Yes.
And it says pilot. Yeah. On it, that very first one.
Yeah.
And I did pull.
I was about to say, he's going to say, here's the clip.
Did pull, the first kind of picture I saw with a business person. Brandon, do you have that?
Yeah. So you found a picture of me.
It's from your website. It's from
okay.
I went all the way back to the one of the first ones, episode 3, Let's Get Spicy. And you got fresh face Patty G.
So there's so much happening in this photo right here. So first off, I'm wearing an Off the Pier shirt. That was a brand I started back in high school.
That's your brand?
That's my brand.
Oh.
So I made T-shirts back in high school because I had this big dream, big ambition. I was going to sell locally sourced seafood from Louisiana on the East Coast because they just couldn't do it right. And so I quickly found out you got to have a lot of capital to actually purchase a truckload of shrimp. And so then I was like, well, I'm going to sell T-shirts. That's what I think I can make happen. So yeah, I was selling T-shirts. I was selling different apparel items. And then I'm sitting next to Matt Beeson of Swamp Dragon, the only liquor-based hot sauce right out of here, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So he was episode 3. Yes, that was the first video episode I had was with him, because episode 2 was actually with Daniel Ellender of Carpe Momentum, and he and I sat at my kitchen table with my iPhone 8 using voice memos and recorded it and published it from there. So that one didn't have any video or a photo. And actually, the photo that I used was pulled from his website, because I was like, we didn't even take a picture. I was so like, what am I doing here?
So you always had a entrepreneurial spirit, it sounds like.
You could say that.
And so with the show, you mentioned one big reason was just to be where people were saying they're not seeing these things. Like they want to leave Baton Rouge because there's nothing here, because where they're consuming, they're not seeing it. And so you're like, well, let me show people all the good businesses around here. And you also mentioned a marketing aspect of it, which I imagine kind of for yourself, right? Where it is getting you in front of people by inviting them onto a show. You know, what a better place than to pick people's brains, right? And understand who they are and how they give back to the community and how the business minds work. And so now that's been like 6 years or so for you. Yep. And you're COO of your own firm?
Yeah, COO of my own advisory firm, and then CFO of my own production company, and then the host of my own show. So yes, but it never started out that way, Al. It never was I'm going to do this to get clients through the door. It was bigger than that for me, because, starting it out, I was 23 doing it, and I'm like, no one's going to come and sit and be like, oh, great, I want you to be my CPA for sure. And it was more of just, how can I talk to business owners, get their story out there, and if it happens to bring in some business, great. But that's not why I'm doing it. Like, my sole purpose was to just promote Baton Rouge and Louisiana as a whole to attract and retain talent and business owners, so they could see what we're doing here, and that you can do things here in Baton Rouge, you can do things here in Louisiana, and have an impact on a global scale, really. But over the years, it's turned into some lasting relationships that have transformed into actual business relationships with clients coming in the door. And so it's kind of just unfolded to become that way. But had I set out to do that, I don't think I would have had the knowledge at the time to prove to somebody that I had the knowledge base to be there.
It had a greater philosophy to it, and it happens to have some benefits to it down the road for you, which should come with something like that when you're doing good work. You know, and one of the reasons I want to do this in the kind of the marketing space is, one thing that pumps me up more than anything is when there's new, fresh, young talent, marketing interns, college students that want to talk to me. And I love taking those conversations, because that's when I realize how excited and hyped up I am about the work I do, about the area we live in, and the talent pool that's potentially out there with LSU, right? And I don't want these students to leave and go to Texas, go to Houston. A lot of them are going to do that, but I want to show them that you can do good work out here, and there's people that want to do good work out here, especially in the marketing world, because this is marketing space definitely is a space where a lot of people do try to jump ship later to a bigger city, because I think it's in the marketing person's brain. It was in my brain a little bit. I wanted to go live in like a downtown big city for a little bit. Did that a little, and then I got the hell out of there pretty quickly, because I realized I don't like that.
So where'd you go?
I just went to New Orleans, but
okay.
It was bigger than here. I lived in like the Central Business District, did all of that, and then after 5-6 years, I met the woman who became my wife. And when we were finally looking for a house, I told her, I was like, let's go back to Baton Rouge. I like it better out there. It's a little slower, it's a little more chill, and it ended up being a good decision. It linked me up with Gordon, and 4 years later,
here
doing
you are.
this, yeah.
sitting in, what is the garage?
The garage studio, yeah. Have you seen any pictures of this place before?
So I had seen a little bit of it. I saw like some pictures promoting it. I saw some videos.
It was just a stripped down garage. Those were rolling doors, and there was just crap everywhere. When we talked about this becoming the studio, the biggest challenge we all thought about was the interstate's right there.
Yeah.
And they did a good job of really making it work.
Yeah, because right now it's rush hour.
Yeah.
And so you would have a lot of noise out there, but you got some brick walls.
We were worried. We were like,
Yeah.
we think it's going to work, but we were worried a little bit.
It came together very well.
It came together
very well. Everything is well put together, and it's impressive.
So on your show, any particular guests or conversations really stick out to you over the last 6 years?
Oh, of course, Gordon. You know, you had to know that answer was coming. I mean, come on.
Besides Gordon.
Right. Besides him, of course. So there have been obviously north of 275 people, entrepreneurs that I've sat down with, and they have all had an incredible story to tell. There are a few moments that have been pretty cool within the show. Getting somebody on that I didn't really realize the scale of what they were building was, I think it was last year, Something Borrowed Blooms out of Lafayette, that really she takes up almost an entire like city block with her operations. And she is shipping these flowers all across the country, even internationally, for different venues and different events. And to hear that and be like, wow, you're like based out of Lafayette, Louisiana. And she's like, absolutely. Like that's where we're home. Like we can do everything we need to from there. And then having somebody come on before then, Cane River Pecan Company with JD Regard. Phenomenal organization that does massive, massive business right out of Louisiana. And then having Matt Valialahi come on of Southern Marsh and hearing his story of how he got started here in Baton Rouge and how they were just some lawyers in law school trying to kill time because they were up all night of the hour and just say, let's make a t-shirt company. And then it just blossomed to what it is when we see it out there today. And then having somebody come on like Matt McGee of Gator Coolers, where he's making customized coolers, which Gordon has one from coming on the show. And he does all types of different promotional items or promotional brands now with cups and with coolers and shirts and stickers and everything. And it all started from an idea of just lining boats. And from there, he was like, let me tinker around with the CNC machine and figure out what we can do. And then now he's got custom cooler tops. Now he's got custom drinkware. And seeing that people here never ask themselves, can it be done in Baton Rouge? They just figured out a way to make it happen where they were. Mm-hmm. You know, you've got people out in Houma, Broussard, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, anywhere, Shreveport, Monroe, doing really incredible things. I drove up to Flying Tiger Brewery and had recorded their show in their brewery, and they have like old World War bombers hanging inside. Yeah. It's super cool, you know, and going out to Sugarfield and Gonzales and checking out their distillery, going downtown to Three Roll Estate and sitting in their tasting room and tasting a flight of their rums. Absolutely phenomenal. And so the opportunities and the businesses that are here and what I've seen over the last 6 years juices me up each and every day and makes me like proud to wake up and be like, yeah, we're doing this here in Louisiana. And we're not trying to say, oh, it can't be done here. We've got to go somewhere else. Yeah. We're saying we're here. We're right now. Let's make it happen and figure out what needs to be done to get us where we want to be.
Okay. Well, how often do you go on location for these?
It depends. It's really circumstantial and if they have a space that warrants an on-site. So we've got a full go bag that we can go and be fully remote and record the show. And it's not often, but when we do go on site, it's super cool because then I'm like, I'm in your backyard now. Show me your cool stuff. And so they'll bring out all these different things. And, you know, we've done stuff at different restaurants. I went to Mestizos and did a bit with Ozzy and Jim where we did a tequila tasting for Cinco de Mayo. Okay. And it was super cool to do something like that in their spot, in Mestizos, in the restaurant, and have Ozzy and him, who some would say are competitors, come together and be like, no, we're going to do this. We're going to do this tasting segment together because we're going to show how in the business community we all work as one towards a common goal of serving whatever customer is going to walk in the door.
Yes. Yeah. And you mentioned Ozzy. I love working with Ozzy. I started working with him a little bit more recently as they're building out Court to Table, the entertainment facility down on Burbank.
Entertainment, I like it.
So you got Gordon, Ozzy, Bob Borton, Clay Fur, and Dustin Thibodeau all coming together to make that place something, right? And I'm helping them some with the marketing aspects of it. But it's cool to see, you know, like that that investor group come together to try to build something so substantial right there. Because that location, it's things have come and gone, right? And the people that went were very dedicated to the place, but it didn't sustain. And then they came here, and it's just completely revamped with the 5 brains put together. And we're supposed to be opening in late June. Hopefully that date holds up. But I'm told not to push the date quite yet.
That's right.
But this summer,
so late
it will
June,
be opening.
Everybody, late June.
That'll be a good place to have an on-location one.
Yes.
You can judge a pickleball match, pretend like you know what you're doing. Do you play pickleball?
No.
Okay, yeah, so pretend like you know
I'm
what you're doing.
I'm the perfect judge for
I'll
it.
join you and we'll do color commentary, pretending like we know what's happening.
Where do we sign? Like, I'm in. I would love that. And I think we need more of that. We need more of those little cool, little unique spots, because I was recording a show last night, and one of the guests was telling me, he was like, I've always wanted to make a shirt. Baton Rouge isn't lame, you are. He's like, because there's so many things that you can do here, but you're just the one that's stuck at home. You don't want to get out. You want to go venture. You don't want to go try different things. And so then you're going to get out there and say, Baton Rouge is lame. There's nothing to do. And so, T-shirts coming soon.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. That was one of the sticking points I always had compared to a lot of my friends in Baton Rouge. Is when I was here the first time from like 2011 to 2015, I loved it. I had a blast. I was from my mid-20s up to 30 that first time, and then moved away for 6 years and decided to come back again, because I remember living in Baton Rouge and really liking it. I enjoyed it. It was a little slower. I would go places that I always know people. It was a little easier to get involved with the community as a whole, I feel like, in Baton Rouge than in New Orleans, and I really like that aspect of it. And so when people tell me like, oh, there's just nothing to do here, it's boring, it's this and that, I'm like, that's you're not trying. You're not trying at all.
Yeah, like why do you say that? Have you looked here? Have you looked there? Have you gone outside your front door and just walked to your neighbor and knocked on the door and said, hey, I want to hang out? Like, what have you done to actually get involved with the community to be able to be in the position to say, I've tried everything and there's nothing to do here?
So how many people work on your show?
Work on my show?
Yeah,
As in help put it on?
Help put it on,
do it?
Right?
Okay.
Now, like I assume they're not full-time employees for like the show, but...
Yeah, there's 5 fingers. It's me and one other person.
Okay.
So we're a 2-man team. Myself and my producer Jay Parker and we put it on now. And for not the longest time actually, we've now surpassed the amount of time that I was doing it by myself. For about 12 months, I did it by myself. And
did you have like a 3-camera setup when you were by yourself?
No.
Okay.
No. I just had the 1-camera setup. I had the one camera setup.
That's difficult, because then after you'd have to stitch it all together because you don't have someone switching. And
correct. Well, this was before that type of gear was even consumer friendly.
Yeah.
At the way it is now, like since COVID, all that stuff became super friendly. Everything, all the controllers got super easy to work with, and now anybody can pick it up after you watch a 15-minute
Back in the
video.
day, you had to take each of the files, put them into the video editing system. You'd have to eyeball them, and it would take a lot of time to piece something together like that. Now, there was some stuff that could help you, but it was expensive.
It was very expensive. I remember doing the first earlier episodes, we'd have to sit there and we'd clap to sync all the mics. Be like, all right, we're synced. That's good. Now you're ready to like let's roll. Whereas now it's everything's tied together.
We got the clapper right there.
I use that for the longest time.
It's fun. It's fun to just use it even when you don't need it.
Absolutely. No, we would do that during COVID. We were shooting the show out of Uncle Earl's because they were closed for a period of time during the initial ordinance where they said nobody could go out to bars or anything because they didn't serve food. And so I texted my buddy Jordan. I said, hey, man, I'm looking for a place to shoot my show. My wife said I got to leave the screen porch. She says, you can't keep bringing these people to the house, Patrick. You gotta get them out of there. And so we ended up recording at Uncle Earl's, and a buddy of mine I went to high school with, even though I was homeschooled, we were homeschooled in the same group. He did video production. And so he was like, all right, man, I'll come out and we'll start shooting this stuff for you. And he would use the clicker before every show, and it was the same thing. Like, we would go live. That was back when we were shooting stuff live. And so we would go and click, and it'd be like just a little cool element. But he would actually write on the little clicker what episode it was and everything, so you get that little B-roll in there and kind of get that video element of it. And so it was cool and different. But yeah, back in the day when you had to sync everything up, it was tricky because I was using like iMovie. Because I was always, how can I do everything on a budget?
As cheaply as possible.
I think I had $100 to build my podcast setup for my wife. She's like, you can do this, you get $100. Whatever you can buy for $100, you can make that work. So I said, okay. I was a DJ in high school, so I knew audio enough. I was like, that's easy. I can go on there and get me a Behringer mixer. I can get me a couple of cheap little mics, and I can make the audio work. And then at LSU, in one of my communications courses, we had to actually do a podcast instead of writing a paper. And so I learned how to use Audacity to edit the audio.
Oh, yeah.
So I was using I was recording into Audacity, and then I would go back in there and pull all the bad background noise. And on my screen porch, there's always the cicadas. It was so painful to remove cicada noise. So you don't even know, working the boards back there, having to remove cicadas from an outdoor setting with Amazon microphones. Okay? It's not easy.
And now, after this episode, Brandon will have this ready and uploaded to Dropbox in like 15 to 30 minutes.
Well, it's done. If that. What's taking you so long, Brandon? Come on, dude. The internet. Don't blame the internet, okay? My gosh.
He's like 500 down and up's not good enough for him.
Like, geez, man. 30 minutes to get this thing published? I used to do it live. It was up instantaneous. And even then, I would record some at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and they would be uploaded that night, fully edited and ready to roll. And it got a lot easier, especially when you get a mixing board like that, and you're able to see what's actually going out and what's your finished product. And if you're able to run your board efficiently enough, then your product's done by the time I hit off. I slap on an intro, slap on an outro, and it's done, man.
Do you go back and listen to some of your old episodes now that you have so many in the pipeline and want to go torture yourself?
So, honestly, no. I used to. Back when I was doing all the editing myself, I probably listened to every single episode 4 times. And I would still love to, but just now the way my days shape out, like I don't have the time to sit there and put in a headphone and actually listen to a show. Like I have a standing desk, not because I'm trying to be all, ergonomic and all that stuff. It's literally because I'm rarely sitting down for hours on end, plugging away and doing stuff. It's much more efficient for me to be standing, go to my desk, do whatever I can for 15, 30 minutes, and then hop off to my next meeting, hop off to my next phone call, or go help a team member with a problem that they have. So literally, when somebody come in like, oh, that desk will never last, you're going to have it up for like 1 day, and then it's going to be down for the rest of the time. And it has not gone down yet. Just because today I was in the office for maybe a combined hour. The rest of it, I was out and about at a client's. I was helping somebody else get their studio up and running. I was out at a lunch meeting with somebody talking about whatever it was. And then the rest of the time I was helping team members and going to this other phone calls. And it's just my days do not allow me to listen to the shows like they used to. So back when I was just an intern, I could listen to the show.
Yeah.
And because I would be at my desk for hours and hours and hours, and it was great because it was just an hour and I could listen to it. Now I don't. The only time I'm putting an AirPod in is to take a call. Like the only time I'm listening to anything is someone else's voice for a conversation. It's not music or anything else. Like those days have gone for me. But it'd be cool. I mean, I don't know if it'd be cool. Maybe it'd be torturous for me to go back and listen to the early days, because for the first, I think, dozen shows, maybe 10, I actually had not a script, but on my iPad, I would have pre-written questions in case I got stuck. And I was like, I don't know what to talk to him about. I don't know what to say. And so I would go through and use some of the questions, and then that would continue the conversation. So there was a point in time where going back and listening to it would probably be painful for me.
Yeah.
But now, no, I don't even, we've got such a system and a machine built in place where I don't even, I couldn't
How many
even
hours
tell
a week
you.
of your time?
Now?
Yeah.
So because I'm still scheduling everybody, which then requires me to do research on the guest, I would say on average I'm probably spending 8 to 12 hours a week on the show.
Okay. That's more than I expected.
It's more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but because like you said, it seems like it's running really tight for you.
Right.
But I'm sure
that's
you want
in
to
a
be
week,
fair.
man.
You want to do.
That's in a week.
Yeah.
So that's maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Because I've got to find guests. I've got to either find guests or
You got to be running out of people by now, huh?
No, dude.
Is it getting easier than ever because you just have so many people in your network from the show now?
So it's getting easier to find somebody in a pinch. It's getting more challenging now to sift through the inbounds. So now the inbounds are starting to hit where people are saying, I would love to come on your show. I want to come on the Patty G show. Like, I've been following you. Can I come on everything? And it's always through the DMs. They're always sliding in the DMs, like it just happens. And my response to them is, thanks for reaching out. Appreciate your interest and your support, however long you've been following us. Here's the email address for the show. Send me an email with 3 reasons why you think you should be on. What qualifies you as a candidate to sit in that chair where someone else could have? And 70% of the time they don't. And so that's
creating
easy.
this extra bit of friction to allow them to self-eliminate.
Correct. And so then the other 30%, they'll send me an email, and maybe 20% of them just send me a pre-written script that they've been using trying to get on shows. And the rest of them, they will actually give me good gold. And I'm like, okay, yeah, come on. Let's come sit in the chair. Like, it's worth it to have you come on the show. And so, no, it's not hard. It's easier now to find guests than it was because of the network, because of the inbound. What the challenge is making sure that people we get on are coming on for the right reason and not just to promote ABC product.
Yeah.
What's always hard, and I'm not knocking this industry, is the book writers that write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books, because the way that they're trained and coached is to sell, and then not give what they've written, right? So it's like, so on page 20, we talk about this. Chapter 3 is about this. Chapter 4, I'm like, great, share that story. Like, oh, no, I can't share that story.
Really? They won't share the story?
Because they want to sell the book.
Because I feel like if I listen to someone just deeply describe it, as much things in their book as possible, I'll go buy it. Yeah. Because I'm so curious about how it's now laid out in the book now that I've just heard it off the cuff, right?
You would think that.
Yeah. And I would think that more successful people would do it in that manner.
You'd be surprised. The very successful ones that don't care about the book sales do.
Yeah.
But the ones that are still early on that will go through all the steps and the hurdles I try to put in place.
Trying to create an extra little funnel to capture some
Correct.
people.
Correct. But then you get those that are just like, it doesn't matter if somebody buys it from this or not. I'm going to share everything. And those are the fun ones.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that we can really get into the stories, the background, and everything, why they wrote it, what they're looking forward to. And so those get fun. But look, if I look at the Baton Rouge Area Chamber list of businesses that are invested in their group, it's 20,000, I think it is. I'm not going to be able to talk to them before I die.
Yeah.
I'm doing 50 a year, man.
And then new ones that really pop off are going to come every year.
Right.
There's always going to be something new happening.
There's always going to be something new. We've got 2 or 3 people lined up within the next few months that are new businesses that have actually gotten attention early on for the right reason. And so those are always super fun to me. But what I've started to realize after doing this for 6 years is I have an internal list of how many businesses the Patty G Show has survived. Because there's
because some of the people you brought on no longer have their business.
Yeah. And I'm trying to see at what point will the guest list get to the statistic of how many businesses fail, of how many startups fail out of those that get created. And we're not quite living it true, so yay on us, Louisiana. But it's every time I read about another article about, this business closed down. Or
how they say 90% of businesses, small businesses fail.
Right.
Y'all are above that threshold. Right?
Oh, yeah. No. We have we have a 99.9% success rate of guests that come on the show. Let me be clear.
Well, you mentioned CFO of your own production company?
Yes.
Yeah, that came about from the Patty G Show?
Yes.
What does that entail?
So when I decided to add someone to the team and we started recording out at the Louisiana Technology Park, I was using the Fly studio. And one of their team members who helped build the studio, Barrett, who owns it, said, hey, man, Patty, come check out the studio. We're building a podcast space so that we can do what you're doing for our business in the marketing realm. They wanted to use it to market and also had this vision of having their own podcast where they were just sharing all these different stories from the real estate industry. And so I went and checked it out and said, this is a really cool space. Would love to do it. He said, if you ever want to use it, it's open for you. I said, yes. I said, because right now I'm looking for another space to record because Earl's was back open. COVID was over, so to speak. And my wife was like, you're not bringing it back to the house. So you've got to find somewhere else to record this show. And so I said, great, we'll use the Fly Focus studio. And they were doing it for a while, but then the person who was recording it left and went to Lafayette. And so I said, well, I need a producer. Like, I'm not going backwards to running the show myself. Like, that's just not going to be productive for me. It's not going to be efficient for the guest. It'll just be too tedious. So then I started finding some interns from LSU, and I went through, I think, 1 or 2 of them. And then I ended up hiring a full-on media company to come in and produce the show and take pictures and handle all my social media content, because what I quickly found out was the amount of time I was spending on the show was north of 40 hours a week. Creating content, cutting the content,
while also
posting
doing
the
your
content,
job.
while also doing my day job. And so at this point in time, I've got 1 kid, another kid on the way. So I'm about to have 2 kids. And my wife was like, you've got to have some time for us. You've got to find some balance. Every entrepreneur knows it's extremely hard to find balance, and it still is to this day for me. But I knew if I could hire somebody to come on and help me do this thing, then I would be able to free up my time at the house. And so finally going through a couple of interns and just realizing they didn't have the experience that I needed, I ended up finding Jay Parker, who has extensive knowledge and background in the podcast space, has touched north of 100 different shows. And I was like, hey, man, could you come and produce a show for me? And he was like, sure, let's do it. And then simultaneously, when he came on, we had 3 people back to back to back who came on the show and asked if we would produce their podcast for them. And so I was like, let's just make a company and just offer this to people that come on the show if they want it. We're not going to like go out there and start hanging banners and saying, hey, we're a production company. And so we created PB&J Productions, and that's exactly what we do now for folks is we produce their podcast for them. We'll help their social media strategy. We'll then post the show and help clip and cut and edit and do all that stuff for them. Really, it's a la carte, whatever they want.
Yeah.
And so from that, I've now gotten great experience to help make sure my show is keeping its thing going and keeping the production going well, while additionally being able to eliminate a hurdle for a business owner who says, man, I just don't even know where to start. I would love to do something like this. I just don't know where I even begin. We now are able to say, we'll just begin right here.
Yeah, just come in, and
we'll record.
And we'll take care of it all.
Correct. So that's started last year, and it's become one of the better things because now I know I've got a great producer and a great team member who's going to help me where I need to do it for the show, while also being able to provide that same level of service for other people. And so if you can see what we're able to do with the show, we can do the same thing for you. And now it's just another wheel on the vehicle that I'm trying to create of helping people better themselves and stay here in Baton Rouge.
How many businesses have you been able to help do that?
I want to say probably close to a dozen.
Dang, that's
So
pretty good.
we're trying.
What industries? Yeah, you mentioned real estate.
So we've got somebody in the bridal space. We've got somebody in the marketing space. We've got somebody in the hospitality industry and real estate industry. So a few different industries.
So basically, there's a vertical for any podcast out there.
100%.
There's an audience for it. There's a usage for it.
There's an audience, there's a usage, and I was just having this conversation today with somebody. They were concerned that they were going to make a show that was going to be just like everybody else. They were going to have this podcast that was going to be so cookie cutter, it's just what everybody else is doing. And my response to them was, you don't have to let it be that. You don't have to let your show be what you're seeing people do. Mix it up, do weird things. Ozzy came on mine, and we tasted 6 different tequilas over the course of almost 2 hours. His is probably the longest show.
Well, and the longer you do it, the more your real personality starts coming out as the host. The more ideas you start having, the more unique things become to you, right? I mean, that's certainly what I'm finding. Just the few people I've talked to already, right?
Yeah.
I can tell, like, I have typically a certain cadence and rhythm with myself. I tend to go on some tangents and some humorous things. We haven't done that so much today in this episode, but shoot, man, it's exciting to talk to you. Exciting to learn more about how you built it out, what's come of it from you. I'm gonna have 2 more questions for you that are just top of mind for me right now. One is, is there any specific unique opportunity that came out like of the podcast that really stands out to you, something that you didn't expect to happen, you know? And for me, as an example, you know, coming on as Gordon McKernan's marketing director, I didn't expect to be signing Jaden Daniels' first ever NIL deal, right? It's like, how did that happen?
Right. Right. Probably the most unique one that stands out to me out the gate is I had John from Estruma Brewery come on the show, and we did the recording out at Estruma before they did all the renovations and everything out there in St. Gabriel. And after we did it, he was like, let's keep in touch. Let's figure out how we can do something together. And so we ended up doing a collaborative beer for like a weekend.
There's a Patty G beer?
There was, yeah.
Oh.
For like a weekend. And it was like a Cinnamon Toast Crunch beer. He was like, what's some flavors you like? And so we went through this whole thing, and I told him I like cinnamon and like this and that. I was right in like the winter.
So it's Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavor, but what style?
Oh.
IPA, lager,
no,
amber?
It was probably a lot. I think it was a lager.
Lager.
And dude, it was good. Like I went there and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And I was like, I didn't think I was going to end up liking this.
Did y'all label it, or y'all just...
No, it was on tap. It was on tap for the weekend.
Right.
It was on tap for the. Come on, we weren't that big, man. Okay, wasn't no signing Jaden Daniels NIL.
The
right?
second someone tells me, "Hey, I want to collab on a beer," I'm immediately going to make a label and going, "Only if you put this on it," because I need a keepsake, right?
Right.
My first beer.
Yeah. Well, I can't do the design, man. I'm not a graphic designer. All right. I can make financials look pretty.
If you need some help with that, or you want me to do some stuff like that for you, hit me up, man. I'm always in Canva and CapCut and all that, doing some designs.
I might have you help on the Patty G redesign.
I'm not like an official designer, so I'm not as good as someone who does it for 40 hours a week nonstop, but I have some skills.
Okay. I don't know if I want to show you the rebranding idea for the Patty G show now or offline. So maybe I'll save it for offline.
Oh.
I mean, you want me to show it to you now?
Yeah. Let's take a look at it.
All right.
I want to get.
I mean, I can airdrop it. I can airdrop it
just
too.
Get my initial reaction.
Yeah. Okay. So I can airdrop it to you. You can throw it up on the screen if you want to.
Brandon, can he?
Can I airdrop it to you?
Is there a way you can get it to you?
Can you see my laptop on it?
Can I see your laptop on it?
On the AirPlay.
Oh, let me see.
Well, not on AirPlay.
Oh, an airdrop. Okay.
On AirDrop. Okay. Let me see.
Or I make you AirPlay it too if you're connected to the Wi-Fi.
I'm not connected to the Wi-Fi.
So this
I wasn't that welcome.
This is.
I didn't get the Wi-Fi password. I'm not special enough.
This is the new Patty G logo. Like this is the one that you're like, this is probably it.
Yeah. It is.
How many iterations did you have of this new design?
Probably 10 or 12.
How many iterations of the original?
Oh gosh.
Just threw it at the wall. And
MacBook Pro, is that it? Gmia? What is that?
GMIA.
GMIA MacBook Pro, and I'm airdropping it to you. So the first one, naming a podcast is funny. It's tough, right? So I wanted to have a name that didn't restrict me in what I could do, because I wanted to be actively involved in the community, whether it was through a podcast, through a late night show, doing goofy stuff, doing drinking, tastings, whatever we're going to do. And so initially it was like the entrepreneur mindset or entrepreneur ecosystem. And so I went through probably 100 different names. And then finally I was like, why do I want to try to fit in this business mold? I got the name Patty G back in high school from a buddy of mine who I grew up with. He just started calling me Patty G out the blue. And then we did volleyball, and I was like, I'm making jerseys, so send me your names. And he was like, you have to put Patty G on the jersey or I'm not playing with you. And so I said, fine. So sure enough, put Patty G on the jersey, and that was kind of my nickname that he always called me. And so I was like, why don't I just call it the Patty G Show? Because I was looking, I was like, you got the Jimmy Fallon Show, we have the Tonight Show featuring Jimmy Fallon, you got the Joe Rogan Show. I'm like, so you got all this stuff where I kind of like the idea of what they're doing, and the Joe Rogan Show was something that I looked at and was like, I want to end up with that. Like that's where I want to end up with the studio style, the content style, the conversation style. And so the Patty G Show stuck. For me, I was like, that's the name. I don't have to talk about business. I don't have to talk about whatever it is. I can do whatever I want. And so that's opened me up to we've done trivia nights out at Point Marie. We've done trivia nights at City Slice with City Group. We've done pizza making at City Slice. We've done seafood making over at Beausoleil. Like we've done different things at Rouge Creole. I've done cooking segments with different businesses. I've gone and actually done tastings at Sugarfield Spirits. We did a whole tasting night with the Bourbon Society of Baton Rouge. And I'm like, all of that fits under the umbrella of the Patty G Show because it's not named Entrepreneur Talks. You know, it's not, I didn't restrict myself out the gate.
I told Brandon when I first started doing this, I was like, I'm going to change the name of this podcast probably pretty quickly because I'm going to grow sick of it. And because like, putting the word marketing in it, it's too narrow for me because I also know how I have conversations and I rarely can stick to like the one thing, which would be marketing, which in this, like we barely talked marketing, right? It's loosely connected, but I like the Patty G Show. I like taking the nickname and the fact that it does open you up to so much. I think it was a smart idea.
What's that? Sure. So then the original photo that I used was me out on vacation. It was like a reflection of the Overwatch of the arch. And of course, I'm blanking on where the arch is. The big...
like the one in St. Louis?
That one.
Oh, okay.
Missouri. The arch out there, we were up at the top, and my wife took a picture of like a reflection of me, and you could see you could see the arch and the background and everything. All right, so now it's not finding you.
This might be a fail. This might be our marketing fail of the episode.
Here. Oh, wait, hang on. You pressed the wrong. Okay, see. It says no people found. Not only am I not welcome enough to get the Wi-Fi password, but now I'm not welcome enough to share photos.
Yeah. So what?
How about I just text it? I'll just text it to you, and then you can share.
I was originally trying to start the show with a.
What's that?
You can just point it at the camera, the logo.
Oh. But I feel like it'd be more fun if we throw it up on the screen.
I know. That's what I really want to do. I can cut some of this out because I know it's really. Oh, this is nice. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Yeah, I would just.
That's pretty dope. Huh?
I would stay with it. Can the camera get it? There we go. Yeah. Oh, we could have just did that the whole time. That's a good. I like it. That's a good looking logo, man.
Yeah.
Local voices, lasting impact. That's your tagline.
Yeah. That's
how long have you been using
that?
That's
new. That's new.
Okay.
We're dropping it here.
All right. So last question for you, Brandon. Be ready. What is a piece of?
And now he's not ready.
Oh, of course.
We threw him off with the airdrop.
Too much technology, man. Too much technology. What is a piece of advice that 28-year-old Patty G would give to 12-year-old Patty G if you were called that back then?
I don't think I was called that back then. What piece of
hopefully Brandon can. There we go. That young man,
cash,
ready to
money,
make money. And I like how the glasses they ride a little lower, right, giving you an extra cool effect.
They did. So so we actually, for our church group, we sold po' boys.
I love that it starts. This picture starts with my church group.
So we sold po' boys at the Strawberry Festival, and that is the night that we counted all of the cash from the Strawberry Festival.
How much was it?
Oh my gosh, I think it was like maybe $8,000 or something.
Dang.
We were slinging some po' boys, man, all weekend long. We were doing the cash counts. And so you've got a bunch of like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old guys. And so we're now just getting goofy with it. And so like we're like all the parents like lock the doors. Like they're not walking out with this cash.
Because as a 12-year-old.
Oh, dude, that's probably like $300.
That's $3 million.
Oh, yeah. At the time, I probably got $300 spilling out of my hat and my shirt. I'm just like, look at this. But yes. So what I would tell my 12-year-old self in that instant is hit him with a softer smile and like pull the glasses, like lean more into that. Like don't like there's like you could tell by looking at it. I had been out playing all day that day. I'm sweaty. I've got the hat propped up. And I'm just like dead serious looking at the camera. And like I would even say, man, lean more into that.
Be a
lean
be
more,
a goofball.
absolutely.
Be ridiculous. Be yourself.
Don't let anybody, don't take the comments of Patrick, you're too crazy.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, I need to tame it down a little bit. Like just lean all the way.
Yeah, I mean,
into
you
it.
became an accountant. So like you should be able to be as wild as you want outside of that because of the whole stereotype.
Oh, 100%. The best conversations that I have are people hit me with two things generally once they like do any type of activity with me outside of sitting in a boardroom or something. They're like, number one, I didn't know you were a CPA. Never could have told that you were a CPA. And number two, I had no idea you were homeschooled.
Oh, you were homeschooled.
See? Exactly.
Yeah.
But like those are the two reactions I get from people after they spend any amount of time with me in a unprofessional setting.
Yeah.
Like not unprofessional. In like a really just personal setting. Like a friendly setting with a group of friends or something. You're out, not in a professional setting. It is, well, I didn't realize you were, like, how are you a CPA? Like you're not anywhere near what I expect. Like, you know, I dropped the glasses at 13, you know, got rid of the green visor once I passed the exam. Pocket protector will come out every now and again. But yes, it's breaking that stereotype of CPAs have to be these boring people. And like even so, if you look at our logo for the advisory firm, there's a microphone in there. And so it's like a crest that we made of my business partner and I, and you've got his signature and the whole story that goes along with that. And you got the microphone for me, and then you have like our fleur-de-lis at the bottom. So it shows us kind of coming together to do what we do. And leaning into it even more with the podcast, leaning into it even more by doing stuff like this is what I'm doing now, instead of saying, well, yeah, maybe I don't fit into that specific mold of what people thought a CPA would be. I have to go all in on just being who I am and saying, doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if people say, well, you're not, there's no way you're a CPA. Like, you're way too different than a normal CPA.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, exactly.
Which is awesome.
It's
especially
awesome.
as you're building out this new company. I mean, in the long run, y'all going to be a force to be reckoned with. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Y'all going to be successful.
Dude,
and you know it.
I hope so. But it's being a different perspective and showing people that you don't have to fit into some mold to be a CPA or a podcast host or whatever it may be. You don't have to figure out what do they look like, how do they act, let me do that. You just are. And we had a leadership retreat for the CPA Society, and one of the questions or one of the main conversations with the speaker they brought in was, I'm a CPA and I love to play golf. I'm a CPA and I host a podcast. I'm a CPA and I'm a father of two and a husband to an amazing woman. Like, we are not that. We are the and. And like, they challenged us to say, you have to spend the next 2 hours or whatever changing up who you're talking to and not speak about work, not speak about the CPA profession, but speak about yourself and who you are outside of that. And that like almost even reinforced this part of me that is, yes, I am who I am, and I'm going to do whatever it is that I'm going to do, and not be like, oh, well, I have to be this certain way. But it's tough, because when you lead with, hey, my name is Patty G, not many people say, great, can you help me with my business problem?
Is that when you go, hi, my name is Patrick?
Yeah. Dude, it's an identity crisis.
I'm
Maybe
Patrick,
you can help me out
I'm
with
Patrick, the CPA. I'm Patty G.
So that's where I'm at now.
The cool guy podcast host.
Right. So that's where I'm at now. And I have people, they ask me, well, how should I refer to you as? I'm like, well, refer to me as whatever you're comfortable with. Because some people I get may be like, oh, Patty G, like, it's kind of weird, man. Like, I don't know you like that. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, call me Patrick. Like, anything but Pat and we're good, you know?
Anything but Pat.
My mom is Pat. And so I'm like, that's my mom, you know?
I gotcha.
Yeah. So.
Well, Patrick, Patty G, not Pat. This was
This
was fantastic, and thanks for coming on and come and check out the studio. And really appreciate it. And if there's anything that you ever need from any of us here, man, just you got my number. Just hit me up.
You need to put the transmission that's manual back in that Jeep.
That I can't do.
I'll do it.
It's above my pay grade.
I'll do it. I've done it before.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks. Just close it out with that. Thanks, Pat.